She's wasted drunk, but she kept going, bounce them hi-hats, boy, bounce them hi-hats. You ain't doing it right. I know drummers. And so finally he kept saying, by God, let it come on, get off me. And I finally asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Chunky Beaver. But we could call her Mudfish. Thank you. That's all I'm gonna say. But Chunky Beaver Mudfish.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall.
How you doing? Welcome to another podcast of Something in the Water with Uncle Dave Griffin and Sean Clark, Justin Mercer from Caution Light Media, and our guest today is Mr. Ty Manning, Reverend Ty Manning.
Yeah. Hey, how y'all doing?
Originally from Waynesville or
No, I guess I was. My mom. We lived in Nahunta, Georgia, when I was born, but I was actually born in Waycross. I've been saying that my whole life. And I thought I always told people that I was delivered by the same doctor that delivered Burt Reynolds. But then I found out Burt Reynolds is like from Michigan or something. That was a total scam. My life is a lie.
You and Burt lying about Waycross.
Well, that must be why we get along so good. You was born in Waycross.
Yep.
That's good. Matter of fact, we share a lot of commonalities. All three of us do. We're all musicians.
Yep.
We all got beards.
Well, kind of.
We all write songs. We're all reverends.
Oh, yeah.
Reverends
Check this out.
On paper.
on paper. I got mine too.
Hey.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wait just a second.
Photo op.
Wait just a second.
I can't find mine.
No, I got ordained to marry off the Hanchy girl, and I don't know about y'all, but my day gig, they found out I was ordained to officiate weddings, and I've done about 31 of them.
Oh, man. You done more than I have.
Yeah,
I like doing it, man. It's pretty cool to be a part of the family. I mean, if you're living right and doing things the right way, most people want you to be a part of their special day anyway, at least. But then there's to be asked to officiate the wedding. It's
an honor.
It's an honor. Yeah. It's like an honor you can't explain until you're doing it. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
So, who was the first of us? Was it you or you?
I don't know. I did it to marry my cousin Brandon Doty, and I don't remember what year it was.
And my first wedding was Christy Hanchy.
I think
And
this
she
was
still
before
looks
then.
like she's 15. I don't even know how old Hanchy
I
is.
can't remember my first wedding, but I did marry you in the Georgia Theater in Athens. That was a hoot.
You married me
and
too?
I married you too. So
I'm glad
and
we
I
got
plan to
divorced,
marry
though.
this guy back here.
Yeah.
So
Congrats,
as
brother.
far as the Something in the Water podcast goes, I'm going to be 3 for 3.
He's married everybody in the room.
So
I still got to pay alimony to him since we got divorced.
so not that we're anywhere
Yeah,
near.
I guess your record's not going too well.
Not that we're anywhere near a minister or anything. It's like Ty performed me and my wife's renewal vows at Swamptown Getdown in 2013, I believe it was.
Was that 13?
And and after it was over, he called me to the side and he said, "I want you to marry me later on this year." And I said, "Man, I can't do that. I don't know how to do all that." He said, "It's easy. You just go to the internet, www.chickenclaws.com or something like that." And I did, and I got my little badge, my card.
Get a parking space.
And parking permits and all kinds of
I didn't get any parking permits.
sample wedding vows, marriage licenses, all that came in a big package. And
You can also do funerals. Have either one of y'all done a funeral?
I have not.
I do not want any part of that.
I've played about 3 or 4 funerals, but
I've played at them,
I
but
have
officiate any
too.
of them.
Yeah, never officiated one. I don't know if I could, but so we do have a lot in common with one another.
we've
Oh,
all
yeah.
known each other a long time.
Yeah.
Me and Ty, I forget how many years. Not that
Oh
it's
yeah.
that many, but
we got to tell the story about us meeting. I think it was at Music Corner, wasn't it, with Toby Harris?
yeah,
Did he work there?
yeah, he worked there.
Yeah, we met. The night I met him, we were at Music Corner, and I think I had just bought a green Ibanez guitar. That's how long ago it was. But I was playing. We were playing around with Toby, jamming, and Toby's like, "We're gonna close up this place and go jam at my house. Let's all go." And I was like, "All right, that's cool." I was like, and then I had just met John, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, just get in the car and ride with me." And we were driving across the Waycross, and it was doing that sunshine and raining at the same time thing that they do down here. The roads were slick, and they went around. I don't even remember what road it was. Where
were
you used to go to get your where you used to go to get your driver's license when I was in high school, at least.
Around the airport road.
The airport road. It's
Airport
really
road, yeah.
big curve, and then we hydroplaned, and we went around about 5 times. We went off the side of the road, and I'm like, I think we're gonna die. This is not a good way to start.
It was
And,
a long time.
But we went around and we hit. You know how the telephone poles have the big guide wires. My car hit exactly. My little Bonneville I had, it hit exactly on the tire. The rubber of the tire hit the guide wire, and it went. And we went about 5 times this way, and then about 5 times this way, and landed up exactly where we were when we started. And we just kept going down the road. And I was like, "How did that happen?" And I guess some of the higher power wants us to jam together. So
That's right. They had plans, and here we are now.
yeah. What year do you think that was?
You said you were 16
I was
earlier when you were
16,
talking about it.
so 92, 91.
Oh, wow.
Almost
I've known you forever.
30 years, right? Mm-hmm. 20, almost
Raises.
20 years.
90 or 91, probably.
Yeah.
Yep. Was that before all your bands like Gravy and?
Yeah, I was just learning how to play guitar.
Man, that's nuts.
Yeah, I'd started playing guitar at 15, so I know I wasn't in a band at that point. Probably wasn't long after that. Had a little garage band.
Yes, that's,
How about your beginnings? What about your beginnings?
Lord.
Was it a gift, a guitar as a Christmas present, or
well, actually, my family's really with my family at the time was they loved music. My mom and dad listening to everything from, anything that was on the radio back in the 70s when I was little. But country radio back in the 70s is where it's at. Mm-hmm. And I think we used to have a Delta 88 Cadillac, and I got 3 sisters, and so I always got thrown in the very, very back, facing backwards. And they would always my dad would always put the speakers on in the back. So I was just getting all this country gold when I was little. Even if I didn't like it, I was getting it.
Yeah.
That and like station wagon exhaust. But I didn't really think about it until later. Later on when people were asking me about how my musical taste started. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I knew all the words to George Jones songs and Conway Twitty songs before I even knew who the hell Conway Twitty and George Jones were. And then, but my first time I got a guitar, I was in junior high in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I used to ride the school bus with this guy named Danny. With a lot of people, but my good buddy, next door neighbor, is named Danny, and he had a cassette tape. I think it was Motley Crue or something. And he's like, "Listen to this," and I was like, "What in tarnation is this?" And I was like, "I love it." And so we would get out of school, and he'd have this big boom box on the shoulder, all the cheesy junk. We'd walk around the neighborhood listening to hard rock. And I remember all the cheesy bands like Dokken and Winger and all that stuff. Mm. But I was like, we got to start as a band. There's a couple dudes at school that had a band. They're actually touring around now, still making a living doing it too. Clinton, Corey, Lowry, all the 7S guys and stuff. So we're like, we need to start a band to get some chicks. So we started a band called Phobia. And this is what's really crazy. We didn't even have instruments. But we just started telling people. I could draw. I've always been an artist, so I drew up like this logo, back in the 80s, you had to have a big, like, way you wrote your band name and all this cheesy junk. So I wrote Phobia, your greatest fear awaits you. They made us, drew pictures of us. We even made T-shirts, and I don't know, it was just really cheesy. But then it was like, then people started asking us, when y'all playing?
At some point, you got
like some
learn
point
how to
we had to
play.
learn, you know. But I was like an army brat, so we moved around a lot. So I was like, when Phobia never really came to be. But then I moved to South Georgia, and by then I had a guitar. My mom bought me one from the catalog, Sears catalog, and it was one of those lightning bolt things that goes in every direction. It was, hard rock guitar. And I moved to South Georgia, and I was playing all these cheesy riffs. I couldn't do a whole song. I just played riffs. And then I got down, or actually I lived in Alabama for a little while. I met some people in Alabama, and we actually had a band called Little Gypsy, which is sort of like what Phobia should have been.
Right.
And then I only lived there for a year, so then I moved to South Georgia, and I ended up in Brantley County, and it was like culture shock because I'm like, I went from army towns to living in the woods. And then that's when all the knowledge of all this country knowledge that I had before, because people like, you don't know any good music. And I'm like, well, I kind of know that song. I tried to learn it. And then I met Paul Lee, and y'all both know Paul Lee. I met Paul Lee, and he was the marching band guy. So I got in the marching band, and I think me and Paul started a band. I think my first band in Waycross, Toby, the same guy that we went to before I started. I met Paul, but I hadn't had a band with Paul yet.
Yeah.
But I met Toby, and then me and Toby started a band, and we called it Phobia because I already had a logo and T-shirts made. And we played the Ritz Theater across from where Crosstown Music used to be. And that was my first taste of playing on stage somewhere. And I think that night we opened up for Diamond Jack, which was Skip Sasser and Tony Kaysen. So I mean, I've been connected to Waycross pretty much my whole life. But musically, my first real show was in Waycross with a bunch of Waycross people that are,
and
famous for being from Waycross.
The Paul Lee that you speak of is also from Brantley County, and y'all were in high school together.
Yeah, I think
he's now the road tour manager, monitor, mixer, just about everything you can imagine for Blackberry Smoke.
Oh yeah,
and he was originally the sound man for Leon Russell as well. And before that, he was my boss at Crosstown Music for a few years.
Yeah, my boss too.
And so after Phobia, the Waycross band. You start up a band probably with Paul, right?
Oh yeah. Well, Phobia was a one and done band. I think a couple of the people that were in Phobia started other bands, because back then there's always been some kind of music scene going in Waycross.
Always.
Because there's nothing else to do here, I guess. No, but I lived in Brantley County. I remember. It's weird. Looking back now, you realize all these little things that happen. You're like, that's why this happened. But I met Paul in my art class because I like art. I guess y'all probably know my life. The people on here.
You're an art teacher now.
I teach art now, which
High
is kind of
school
crazy.
Art teacher.
But I met my best buddy Paul in art class, and just talking about music. He loved music, but Paul came to music a different way. Paul was like, he knew how to read music, and he was this like band first chair guy, and I think he was a drum major in the band. He was like this main guy.
Nerd.
And he wasn't a nerd. He was cool. He tight rolled his green jeans and had Reebok Velcros on. He knew what's up. But he was like,
you hear that, Paul?
Paul was cool, and Paul was like, you gotta teach me how to play that guitar. I was like, all right. So I said, let's do it. And so we went to his house and trailer out in Hortense, and I remember them giving me directions. They're like, go to the red light, turn at the paved road. I'm like, which paved road? They're like, there's only one. And I was like, okay. Now when I get to Paul's house, and his dad had this like little harmony guitar, like this piece of junk with a little fake Bigsby on it.
Yeah.
And I taught Paul, this is no lie, I taught Paul how to play Iron Man and Paranoid, 2 Black Sabbath songs. And I was like, well, man, he's halfway getting it, and he's like, cool. And so I said, you practice that, and we'll come over tomorrow. I'll bring my guitar, and we'll make this. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
And then before I could see Paul again, his dad Tater had taken him to the store, and Paul came back with the bass.
Wow.
I'm like, Paul, that's the bass. I was going, you're going to get a guitar. And he goes, well, Dad says I should play bass instead of guitar, because then we could have a band.
Yeah.
So I taught. By then, Paul goes, check this out. These like slap bass. I was like, what are you doing? I taught him Paranoid, and next thing you know, he's like playing Higher Ground by the Chili Peppers. You're like, how is this possible? He goes, well, it's just the bass clef, and I played the Barry sax, and I made it, figured it out, and this guy gave me this CD, and I'm like, whoa. Let me put some metal flake tape on your bass. It will be cool. No, but then we're like, well, we need a drummer, and then so we were in school, we were looking for a drummer, and Paul knew everybody in the band, and everybody kind of in the band idolized Paul, so it was pretty much, well, we need a drummer, and then they were like, well, there's nobody in the high school band that's good enough to play a kit, and our band director at the time, Bozeman, he's like, there's this little boy in the middle school that can play a kit, and he's awesome, and he's looking for a band. So he got that guy to come over from the middle school one day, and me, Paul, and Brett. His name was Brett.
Brett, that's
not a Brett Heron.
Yeah.
But we jammed in the band room, and it was just magic, man. We finally had a full band, and everybody was decent enough to make good music. I mean, none of us sang back then, so we were like, well, now we need a singer. Wow.
And did y'all get one?
Well, we started asking around for a singer, and then everybody was like, there's a guy in Twin Rivers named Ed Wilder. Everybody calls him Ebo. He's a little older than y'all, but he sounds like Ronnie Van Zant. So we're like, okay. So then we went out and we met Ed, and it was just amazing. And then, of course, we had learned a bunch of like hard rock, like Tesla and all these hard rock songs. And he goes, well, I don't know none of them, but if you can learn this one and this one and this one. And that guy, Steve Rowell, that came and played with the Swamptown Getdown, we went over to his house, and his little brother, all of his brothers had a band. So they kind of taught us a bunch of Southern rock songs, because they were all into like Skinner and Molly Hatchet.
Steve Rowell was actually the lead guitar player in a trio that played at the Steakhouse Lounge here in Waycross in the early 70s, when I was just starting out in my first band. And they played Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at the Steakhouse Lounge. And my band, Sweetbriar, with Billy Ray Hare, and we had a 4-piece band, but they allowed us to get up on stage Thursday night. They would shove all of Steve Rowell's band's equipment up against the walls, and we'd set up and play on Thursday night. So that was, and Steve Rowell is a fine guitar player.
Oh my, he's so good.
He's really good, but he was a little piece of my past too.
Well, that's good. We're all connected, man. The cool thing about the band that we had with Paul and Brett and me and Ed, I guess eventually, but we were we decided that Steve and Ed had told us, they're like, y'all little whippersnappers, this is how you get. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to get serious unless we book us a gig. So we booked us a gig at this place called the Hillside Game Room, right there in the end of where Trudy Road runs into 301. Mm-hmm. And we had a gig, and we kind of crash course at Steve's house, and he taught us he taught us 11 songs, and we were going to do 11 songs. And that we had a gig, and I think we did about 22. We did twice as many as he taught us. We're just faking our way through them. Awesome. Just had a blast, man. And then next thing you know, they were asking us to play the high school. And then they were like, this guy's like, hey, man, I have these parties at my house, and y'all need to come do them. So we turned into that band.
So what was the name of this band?
Oh, Lord. We started off, we were Type B.
Type B?
Type
B.
And I don't want to sound like NSYNC, but Paul's mama said we were Ty, Paul, Ed, and Brett. I know it's the dumbest thing ever, but we did a couple gigs as Type B.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then we got it, and nobody in our band liked it, but that's just what we went with. And then we ended up getting in a battle of the bands at Waycross Mall. Just to tell you how long ago it was. We're in the middle of Waycross Mall where Santa Claus sits. And they had all these people there at a stage. We got second place. We lost to some little 4-year-old girl singing Mariah Carey, but apparently she's really good. No wonder where she is now. I don't know, but our drummer at the time, just random knowledge about him. He had a condom in his pocket, and he hated our band name, and so he was the one that was running in there to fill out all the paperwork for us to get in the contest.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What's the band name?" And he goes, he pulled out the condom, and it said on the back, "Avoid excessive heat." So he wrote Excessive Heat as our band name. And we were Excessive Heat for like 5 years, 6 years. Then I moved off to college. And
It's good to tell you. Yeah, could have been just as easily been known as Trojan Jumbo.
Magnum.
Man arm. No, there's no telling. It's weird, man. He didn't even think about it. And we didn't even know what he had put down until they introduced us. We're like, what? And he had spelled it. This will tell you how long ago it was. He spelled it X $IV. Like he spelled it all stupid. But of course, we made some T-shirts, and the T-shirt said "Hortense to Hollywood" on it. Yeah, you, Paulie.
Oh Lord, I love it. I love it.
I saw y'all practice.
That's probably way too much information.
No, I ain't never heard this before. This is great.
I saw y'all practice one time. Me and Toby came over.
Yeah,
y'all were under somebody's carport. Might have been Brett's house.
Yeah, Brett's house. Yeah, we used to jam out in Brett's house. He had the patio on the side of, I guess, a driveway, but it had this covering thing. So we just have, we'd invite people to our practice.
Really?
And then he had a little, when it get cold weather, he had a little shed in the back. And but Brett's a whole other story.
That is.
We can talk about later.
We probably won't go there, but
Miss you.
That's great. The greatness of those old band stories. I mean, everybody can relive them, and they were just about the same. The excitement of learning an instrument and finding 3 or 4 other guys that shared the same interest. All of that was so fresh and so new and exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, looking back just now, man, you're like, whoa, life's been. It's an awesome life I got going here.
It is, yeah.
And here train, we're in Waycross, I hear train.
Waycross train. I thought you were a rock star when I met you because you had really long hair and you could play guitar. Well, I was like, this is what I want to do. This guy right here. Then he about kills me in the car.
No, it was back in the late 80s, early 90s. You had to have
hair.
long hair. You had to look the part.
Right.
Now I look like a sound guy for Molly Hatchet or something, or a road crew. No offense to any sound guys out there.
I guess when I first
or road crew guys.
When I first met you, was like a lot of Brantley County people. I first met when I started working for Paul Lee at Crosstown Music in 1991. Is that right?
No way.
2001. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
2001.
I was gonna say,
He was still in high school.
11th grade. I mean, Paul's that also though. He could have run a story.
What's 10 years? I mean, but it was 2001, and Paul Lee being from Brantley County, I started meeting all of you characters. You and Darren Kersey.
Oh yeah, Darren's a trip.
Jesus, all those
Jesus
Spencer,
from Brantley County?
Jesus.
Jesus is from Brantley County. Yeah. Anything, that's probably the truest sentence ever.
Spencer Purcell.
Oh yeah, Spencer's a trip.
I mean, there was just so many people that came into my life just from working at that music store. That's when we first started rubbing shoulders. And then in 2003, Paul told us the story of the which inspired a Newfanglers concept album. And
Newfanglers can't get more Brantley County than a Newfangler album.
And
it's like the storyline, at least. The music is, I guess the music too has like a mix of, I think y'all musically captured all that craziness.
The songwriting, it was basically a Waycross, Brantley County songwriting project more than anything, and then a band grew out of it. And but Sean and my nephew Graham, myself, you, a lot of people were in on the songwriting end of that album.
I still remember I came down one time. and we were. This is my memory of it. I don't know. It's probably shady because that was the shady years. But I remember coming down. We were hanging out in the store, and we're all a bunch of songwriters sitting around. Like, what do you think of something we can write a song about? And then we're like, well, we got this story. And I remember we told y'all the story, and I thought, well, Dave's going to write a song about it. It'll be great. And then I was like, well, shit, let's all write a song about it. And then we had like 10 or 15 songs and coming from different perspectives.
Yeah,
but
Dave did an outline. We need a song about this, and then we need a song about that.
I remember, I was going to college then. I might have been teaching already. I can't remember, but I was going back and forth from North Georgia to South Georgia, and every time I would come down, it'd be like, we got a new idea. It tweaked it to this, and then it just it was cool to see it grow. Mm-hmm. Y'all got to see it every day, but I got to see it like once a month.
We were recording in the stock room of the music store.
Oh, yeah.
And Paul had this beautiful
Yamaha 10 to 12 or
digital, 24-track digital
console kind
of recording console, and all unobvious places to record an album. It was in a stock room full of bare walls and
cardboard
boxes full of PA systems and musical instruments. But it's got a sound to it. Mm-hmm.
I think the Fanglers started in that back room, that store. But pretty much the Barefoot Hookers, the band I was in for like 10 years, the first little demos we did were on that same little Yamaha thing, and Paul recording them. I think he was learning how to do it while we were doing it too. And then, but the first 3 or 4 songs that I wrote that ended up being Barefoot Hooker songs were recorded there first. And then when I was in Athens, I was like, we got to get a band to put together to do these songs.
Yeah.
But
so that was the Barefoot Hookers.
Yeah, for the first couple songs, yeah. I think one of on the first record we had, Sweet Pickle Grits, the last song on the record is actually, we didn't even re-record it. We just used the recording that Paul did.
Really?
And it's pretty cool. And then we recorded it, and a friend of ours named Amy was sitting there, and at the end she claps. It's like really cheesy and cool at the same time. It's like the magic. When you're recording, you got to have, I don't know, when you record, there's that one little piece of magic that you need, and that was her little laugh and the liveness of it in that room. Mm-hmm. It's like there's no way we could remedy it. We could recreate this, so we got to put it on the record. So if you listen to Sweet Pickle Grits, there's a real pretty girl laughing at the end.
And you can find all that
clapping,
music
not
on
laughing.
Spotify and everywhere.
Yeah. You can still buy Barefoot Hookers, Sweet Pickle Grits. Life at the Bar, Beer Drinking Gospel. It's all on iTunes and all that. I don't know where the money goes when you buy it, but I know it's on Spotify too. So if you want to just go down memory lane and hear a bunch of crazy, horrible drinking songs, you can do it.
Y'all were a good band. That was a fine band. John Tonge.
Yeah. Johnny's from Waycross.
Yeah.
Now he's a big lawyer up in Atlanta.
Is he?
He's doing good things too, man. I'm proud of him.
That's awesome.
I've been teaching for 20 years, and I kind of take John. I take pride as John being one of my first students, and I totally didn't teach him right for 10 years. But he's fine. I think he's like my brother, but like my little brother. But he's done a lot of cool stuff in his 2 decades I've known him, maybe going on 3.
Awesome.
Actually, I don't need to tell the story about John Tonge on the microphone and videos, but I met John when he was 15 in Waycross. Yeah. I just say I met him a night of his life, the craziest night of his life in Waycross. I was at a party at Josh Sweat's house. Y'all remember Josh Sweat?
I don't.
I know
he was friends with Will Thrift, and I came in. Paul, when I moved off to college, Excessive Heat was still playing around. They got little Charlie Chastain. Mm-hmm. He kind of replaced me in Excessive Heat. I think they started calling it something different, like about a blue van or something.
Blue van band.
I think it eventually turned into that. But Paul, my drummer and bass player, were playing with Charlie. But we played Josh Sweat's house, and I met a bunch of people. This is like when they were like 15 and 16. We were playing like some backyard party, and I met them. And I said, well, hey, when y'all are in college, I live up in Athens, so just look us up. And then about 3 or 4 years later, they all graduate and move up to Athens. And my band was playing at the time. I was in a band called Skillet at the time. And we were playing at this place called Allen's Hamburgers. It's not there anymore either, but really, really cool place. They only had burgers and beer. But we used to play there all the time, about once a month. And one night I got in a fight with our bass player because I think my cut of the night was like $40 and I owed him $45 or so. He was giving me beef about it, and I don't know, just in the closing 2 o'clock in the morning, band packing up junk just started getting ugly, and our singer got mad at the bass player, and I think there was this little fight broke out. And it was kind of an ugly scene, and then John Tosh just walks up and goes, "Hey man, I hear y'all looking for a bass player." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I saw you playing Waycross 3 or 4 years ago. You told me to look you up." And I was like, "You really play bass?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, you're in the band." And I didn't even heard him play bass. But John joined Skillet, and he was in Skillet for a long time. And then when Skillet fell apart, we started the Barefoot Hookers, and John just slipped right in there.
Yeah.
And then he could sit right here with us, man. He knows how to write a song now. He's a poet.
Well, in fact, he wrote the words.
Oh yeah.
To
Deathbed Confession.
Deathbed Confession.
He's
I took
the man.
his words and Neil Brannon, and I added a little chorus to. But they got me kick-started on that song. I took it home and I said, all right, and I put some music to it. And without that, there wouldn't have been no Deathbed Confession, you know. So he is he's a definite songwriter.
He's a good person to go to if you got like half a song done or you need one line or 2 lines left. He's well, you need to do this, cut that, and move it there. You got it.
The son of the Episcopal minister here in town, John Tonge, attorney at law.
Yeah. John Tonge is our Reverend Tonge. I'll tell you a cool story. We used to play gigs in Waycross and all the time, and we booked a gig one time. It was going to be I don't know if it was Easter or the weekend of Easter. I think everybody's coming home for Easter, so we booked a gig. I think we were playing at Woody's Barbecue or something, or maybe LL Creek by then, whatever it was. And but John says, "I can't play. It's Easter." And I'm like, "What? It's Friday. It's like Saturday. Like Easter's on Sunday." And so we basically made a thing. And his dad, it was something about his dad it was his dad's last day preaching or something, or being a priest. Oh. And so we made a deal. It said John could play the gig if all of the Barefoot Hookers come to church the next morning. So we're like, okay, done. So they did the big thing, and they did the big communion at the end and all this, and it was pretty wild. We're all in the back row. We're like, what's going on here? And then they like led us up to the front. We drank out of a wine thing. It was crazy, and I didn't think nothing of it until like later. I was like, that was kind of weird, but cool. And then later on, I realized I got Reverend Tonge's last communion, like, which is just, I mean, like, man, that's just, I don't even know what you call it, hindsight or whatever, or forward sight, or I don't even know what word it is. It's cosmic.
It's cosmic in the sense that it prepared you for your future.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can remember a night at the Hummingbird Stage and Tap Room where you were in a purple robe dispensing pork rinds
I was throwing
at a sort of communion.
Oh, yeah. I ain't lying.
Baptizing people to be Waycrossians.
A bottle of Jim Beam or Jack Daniels.
That night might be one of the craziest nights
Jim
of the
Beam and
Barefoot
pork
Hooker
rinds.
legend, I guess.
You were one of calling people forward to bless them.
I gotta set this up. This is tell you why you shouldn't drink, kids. No, but I had this friend named Lauren Pascapools. I'm down with LPP. But she took me to this party, and she goes, "We're going to a WTF party," and I was like, "Well, what's that?" She goes, "Well, your goal is when you walk in to the party, your goal is to make everybody go, what the?" And so I was like, okay. So we went to like Goodwill and bought like a bunch of random junk. I think I got a purple choir robe. I think I had an oven mitt and a clown mask. And we went to this party, and she was dressed up like some girl from Quentin Tarantino movie or something. She looked really cool. But we show up at this party, and we get there. There's people everywhere, and there's this guy putting on roller skates on the curb, and we're like, "Oh man, cool outfit!" And he got really mad at me, and his back of his shirt said "Rollin' Joel." He was actually hired as entertainment for the party. He was like a professional roller skater, dancer guy. No, but it's just like the craziest party ever. We had this knocked out thing, and then we had played the Hummingbird the next day. So I had all that stuff in the car, and Vic had said, "Hey man, all your people, when you play you play Macon, all your people from Waycross come up, and y'all like take the party up a notch. You're like, these people, we breaking liquor sales, and there's not even full, you know? Like, I don't know how you do it, but whatever you do, share your magic with us." And he goes, I was like, "I want you to convert all the Macon people to Waycross." And so I was like, I looked around in my car. I said, "Well, I got a choir robe." I was like, "Go get me some pork rinds." I was just being stupid, and it just happened out of nowhere. We didn't really plan it. We planned it, but like at like sound check, you know? So it was kind of like organic.
It was magical.
But it was, and you were up there doing
Ain't no telling.
You were doing all the fire and brimstone stuff, and then Scotty was toying on the organ. And that's just that one thing where there's a picture. There's one. Luckily, this was before cell phones and videos. So there's one picture floating around. It's like me with a bag of pork rinds and everybody kneeling in the front.
And everybody drank out the same bottle, right?
Oh yeah,
that's before coronavirus.
What's crazy? the picture that I have, you know, we're passing it around, the bottle around. The picture that I have, I've married off 3 of the people in the picture.
Oh,
because they're like, you know, because everybody started calling me Reverend. That's when everybody started calling me Reverend. Right. That stupid night.
And
I was
that
like,
led to you being a Reverend.
And then they're like, "We got to get Reverend to marry us," and I'm like, "I'm not a Reverend. I'm an idiot in a robe and a microphone."
Oh Lord!
But I ain't lying. I got a good buddy now, and he's plays bass with me sometimes. But he started taking me to church, and I don't want to get too spiritual on y'all, but like the guys like saying all this, like they got to plant seeds with people. I think all these little things. I don't think I would be where I am right now if I hadn't been where I was then, you know? Like, it's all connected, and no matter who you're yeehawing in the sky or who your higher power is, you got to... I used to tell people just be nice to everybody, and, you know, they'll be nice to you back. That's sort of like the golden rule, but I'm drawing a blank here. No, but it's just like, I don't know, it just felt weird. And I just really can't explain it but y'all been through it, you know, you gotta, so I used to tell people you gotta live bad to realize how good it is to live good, you know, you can't have the good without the bad, and you can't have the
balance.
You gotta have that little bit of balance of like,
light and dark.
I don't read books like John Tonge, so I don't really know how to tell this, but you know what I'm saying. Just find what
talk a lot.
Find what helps you be a good person. And
we talk a lot on here about the fine line between sin and salvation, and how that is in the musical world.
Oh yeah,
mostly, you know. So
it is. It's all connected. Like a lot of the, I know you're always saying like, I guess gospel, like Hank Sr. and Ray Charles, and they basically, it's the same. Like, you got to mix it a little bit. You got to find your happy mix of both. And
yeah, the dynamic is always there. I mean, we're toting around everything that we ever grew up with from childhood, you know, and all those experiences kind of culminate right now in who we are, know, and I'm proud of you, man. You went from pork rinds to real crackers.
Yeah. I'm drinking the right beverages. No, it's
it's a heck of a life too.
No, this is. I didn't think this would be therapy, man. No, this is crazy. This is like but you know, like every little thing that's happened to you in your life.
Yeah.
And every little thing that you've caused for other people, it's like it's all connected, man. And
it is.
and whoever you. I mean, just I remember when I joined the church. I guess last year I went through all that heart surgery stuff. And, I don't know. I just got so much love coming in every direction. I think I went back to all those, gospel songs I heard riding backwards in the station wagon, and all the vacation Bible schools I was not really forced to go to, just like luckily ended up at. I mean, it's all like it all came full circle, and now looking back on it, it's like, well, I don't think I would have got to where I am now without having a really crazy, colorful life.
and you're still as colorful as you ever were, because I always like to say when Ty Manning's band is on the bill, the circus is coming to town.
Yeah, I try to let my freak flag fly all the time, and I try to inspire people to let their freak flag fly too. Like find out who you are and be that person the best that you can, and if you need any help.
Go see a Ty show.
I'll sit here and talk with you, or you can listen to this podcast.
Your recent entity, Slaw Dog Biscuits.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. That'd be cool.
All right, Ty Manning and the Slaw Dog
Biscuits.
The
Slaw Dog Biscuits is kind of happened weird. There was a band when the Barefoot Hooker band broke up, and we might play every other year if we're lucky, or maybe. At least some of us, we've had a couple leftover hooker shows. We're missing a couple people, but I sobered up. I hit rock bottom, as they say, and I sobered up, and I tried to get healthy. My heart couldn't handle being Ty Manning, so I had to slow down a little bit. But I met a girl, and I got married, and everything was perfect. And then it got a little weird, and then. So it got unperfect, and then I wrote a bunch of songs about it because that's what songwriters do. And I remember I bought a house when I proposed. I bought a house, and I said, "Come live in it with me." And then when she quit living it with me, when she moved out, I was like, "Well, now I got this big old empty house," and I was like, "Well, I don't wonder why this," and I had all these like why and ifs and what's going to happen questions, and all my friends were like. I was like, I don't know if she's coming back. Just this big old empty house says no. So I wrote the song called "Empty House." Nothing louder than an empty house, and I was like, well, there's your answer. So I wrote that song, and I actually wrote that song on the stage in between Betsy Frank and Levi Lowry because I was sitting there. I was like, I told Fester we did a songwriter thing in Athens. Did I mention I have ADD really bad?
That's a good combination.
No, but
do you know that song? Can you play that song, Empty House, from beginning to end, or anything off of that album?
I probably could, but that would probably be a bad one to play because it's like piano and got a bunch of crazy changes in it. I could probably do it, but
which one of these?
Maybe I'll do one. Let me tell you this cool story about the song. But I was sitting between I was sitting up there with like Fester and a bunch of great songwriters, and I had this chorus. The chorus just came out like. Well, when I came up with the chorus, it just happened, and then I taught Scotty the harmony part for it. And I said, well, we write some verses. We could play this tomorrow at the show. And he goes, well, you try to write the verses, and we'll do it. And so I get to the show, and we're doing the sound check, and I was like, I was playing all these, played the chorus. I'm like, that's great. And what's the chords going to be for the verses? And I was like, they're like, well, that's great too. And I was like, well, I don't know what to write. I don't want it to be cheesy, but I want it to be cool. And then Levi Lowry, as chill as can be with a cigarette, it's like, your chorus is an answer. Maybe your verses should be questions. And I was like, I went to my text messages. And I was like, I just wrote every question I ever text messaged to my ex-wife, and I just put them in order. And I tried to I'd rearrange them until they rhymed and shit. And I was like, then I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I got about halfway through, and then we were doing a songwriting around with 5 people.
Yeah.
And then this guy was asking questions and interviewing you and stuff. But it got to me, and I was like, so what song are you going to do now? I was like, well, I'm going to write a song I just wrote. And he goes, well, when'd you write it? I was like, since I did my last song. And I sang it, and I was read it, and it was like really cool. And then after that, it like inspired me to write a whole bunch of other songs. And just like the Fangler record, I was like, well, I got the song about when this happened, and a song about when this happened. And then
Kind of concept album.
And then I was like, I've made a concept album about my love life or lack of love life. But you can get it on Spotify and iTunes. And
Yeah.
come find me. I'll give you one.
You covered one of my songs on
Yeah, I did. I covered one of both of y'all songs.
Oh, yeah.
You did.
One of Dave's.
Because I did. You officiated
Curl
my
Up
wedding.
and Die. And
That was my...
No Home for Me Now.
No Home for Me Now.
Yeah, Curl Up and Die was the first song at our wedding.
Yeah.
And then I thought that needed to be on it because it starts off with some love songs, and then that song, and then I thought after that song I needed that's about how long it lasted. About my marriage lasted about 3 songs.
Oh.
But when it went wrong, I was like I had all these other songs, but I needed like a leaving song.
Yeah.
And then it has boom, 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 boom. I was like, I gotta just record that.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty cool.
no, but that album's done pretty good. I've
Why don't you play us a song?
You want me
that
to play one?
wrote? Which one?
you want to play one of the old ones?
It doesn't matter. Just whatever you feel led to.
How about I play a brand new one? I actually wrote this brand new one. I started writing this brand new one back when I was happily married. And I'll give you a little songwriter. See how out of tune I am. No, but when I was married, I was trying to write a bunch of happy love songs. And like every other songwriter, I'm obsessed with John Prine.
Yeah.
And I was trying to write a John Prine love song. And I grew up in the 80s with all the cock rock songs, so it came out a little more racier than a John Prine song. I don't know what string I'm on here. No, but I played this the other night, and I finally finished the lyrics, and I think it's good. But when I first started, it was just going to be a love song to my wife, or my wife at the time. And then, since then, I've had open heart surgery. I guess I've quit drinking. Found the Lord, all that good stuff. So I kind of changed the verses to be about that.
Good.
But I still like doing stuff. And y'all feel free to sing it with me if you want. Oh, I got to put this on here. Well, I don't want to grow up, get a job, or pay my bills. Stay sober, watch my weight, or take blood pressure pills. All these things are good for me, but they're waste of all my time. So I thought I'd sing the only thing that's always on my mind. All I want to do, all I want to do, all I want to do is you. I don't want to do anything else. All I want to do is you. I'm so tired of all these responsibilities. Cut my fingers to the bone, wear out both my knees. And there's so many things in this old brain that's rode hard and put up with. My attention span ain't that grand, but I just can't forget. All I wanna do, all I wanna do, all I wanna do is you. I don't wanna do anything else. All I wanna do is you. All right, this is where I brag on myself for rhyming diddly squat and hit the spot. I feel like Fester Hagen now. There's things in life that cause us strife, way out of our control. The way on our hearts and tear apart mind, body, and soul. And I've searched for ways to curb this ache, but I ain't found diddly squat. There's only one surefire thing that can always hit the spot. Sing it with me, Dave. All I wanna do, all I wanna do, all I wanna do is you. I don't wanna do anything else. All I wanna do is you. All I wanna do is you. All I wanna do is fill the waterbed up with glue, put on some Jimmy Buffett, and
Yeah.
that'll be on the next record.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Well, that's fun.
Well, y'all want to take a little short break?
Yeah, let's do it. Maybe we can try to write one.
Be right back.
Well, that was fun, y'all.
Something in my blood starts to take a hold. Something in my bones start to lose control. Something in the water gonna make me whole. Something in the water gonna make me see. Something in the water gonna set me free.
Well, we're back. Glad y'all still with us. Talking with Mr. Reverend Ty Manning from
Mr. Reverend.
from up around Athens. What is Madison?
Yeah,
Madison is where your home is.
I live in a little town called Buckhead, Georgia.
Buckhead.
But I teach high school in Madison, Georgia, I've been there since 2001. I always tell people I've been teaching since the trade towers came down, which is a cool story I can tell you. Y'all know me leading up to teaching. Y'all knew me before teaching and after teaching, but when I first started teaching, my claim to fame before I started teaching was I went to college for 9 years. I
Made a career out of it.
I was Van Wilder before Van Wilder was a movie.
Georgia?
I did 2 years in Alabama at Troy State, and I transferred over. All my friends that I was hanging out with in Troy, they didn't make it out. They partied too much and didn't get the grades. But somehow I made it out and transferred over to UGA. And then I ended up getting a scholarship to go to school because I have a bad heart. The one good thing about being born with a bad heart, I had a scholarship that paid whatever Hope and Pale didn't pay, and I didn't have Hope and Pale, so this paid everything. And then the sweet little lady who was from Waycross, actually, and Angie Booth, where I don't even know where she is now, but if you're out there, thanks. No, but she got me hooked up with college, and there she's like, well, you got a bad heart. Don't take a full load. Just take things at your own pace and all that. So I got up to Athens, and I never took a full load. If I started getting behind in a class, I just drop it. And I don't know. I had the system figured out, man. I was a professional student, and I think that's what makes me a pretty good teacher. Is I know that. I know that age level of kids, so I can kind of get on that wavelength. Plus, they can't get any tricks by me.
You're a high school art teacher at Morgan County
High School, Madison, Georgia. Yep.
Yeah.
When I started teaching, I was going to tell you, I was living in my car, being in a bunch of bands. That's when I was in the band Skillet, and I was like, well, I got a degree in art, drawing and painting, and I'm like, what am I going to do with it? I was, well, I guess I'm going to live in my car on Baxter Street and play the guitar on the weekend for beer money and free hamburgers, And so then I got a call. This is back before cell phones. I get a call from my mom to check on me, or I called her so she could check on me or check on her or whatever, and she's like, we got a letter from the UGA. It says your tuition's been paid for, but you haven't registered for class yet. And I'm like, well, I've already graduated. Wow. So I just went right back and registered for more classes. So I just kept going. And the class that I registered for, I started doing the teaching classes. Yeah. And I ended up having the student teach at the school where I'm at now. Oh. And so it's sort of like I wasn't even planning on it, and I just ended up there. And I think I didn't realize I was kind of wandering around, didn't have a clue what I was going to be when I grew up. My goal was to not grow up. But then I ended up in a place where I could kind of grow up and not grow up at the same time. I get to hang out with teenagers and hopefully inspire them to figure out who they are and where they need to be, and
well, from what I've heard,
how to learn about themselves and the world.
Pretty well loved at your high school. I mean, you were voted like out of the state of Georgia. You won the Teacher of the Year.
Yeah. Last year I won Teacher of the Year at my school. Yeah, and I won Teacher of the Year off Fox 5. Fox 5 News has a thing called High Five for Teachers, and I was nominated. For that, and because you got to be nominated by somebody, they write in a letter and stuff, and then they narrow it down out of all the people that are nominated. They narrow it down to 4 or 5, and then they come do these little video montages of everybody, puts them on the TV, and they show them for it's like a thing for Fox 5, but then everybody votes online. Mm-hmm. But I tried to find out who nominated me, and they wouldn't tell me, but they said I was nominated by multiple people. Wow. Which made me feel even more loved. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I ain't lying, I think my motto when I started teaching was like, I'm gonna try to be the teacher I wish I would have had in high school. And I moved around a lot, so I went to 4 different high schools. I think we did the math one time. I think I went to 13 different schools in 12 years of school. So just because I'm a military brat, Yeah. So, but I've had teachers that would rip up stuff and yell at you and say you did it wrong, and I've had ones that, oh, you're great, so I'm somewhere. I've got all those experiences. I'm like, I think the main thing about being a good art teacher is to get to know the kid and find out what they like and what they don't like, and then figure out how you can help them find themselves, or if they don't know it, because a lot of times the kids be like, I don't know what I like, I don't know what to think, I don't have an opinion on that. I'm like, well, this is the hour and a half of the day where we're going to sit here and figure out what your opinion is about things, and then we're gonna show you how to express it with some color. Wow. Or some pencil or some movie or a song or whatever, dance, whatever your thing is. We're going to find your thing and kind of help mold your mind into figuring out what you want to be when you grow up, and even if that is not growing up, right? Like me, and I think a testimony of a good line in the sand about if I'm in the right place. I think I'm in the right place because there's so many people that are following all the dreams that I kind of helped flame, when they were in my class. So got a lot of kids out there playing music. Y'all know who you are. And I got a lot of kids making art. Yeah. I even got a lot of kids teaching. So I feel blessed, man.
I've certainly been a presence in their lives and in their future.
You brought us some art today.
Yeah. I make art too. I don't just preach it. I teach it. I don't just teach it. I preach it. No, but I like to do a little bit of everything. I always hear the jack of all trades, master of none. I try to paint, sculpt, collage. I even do a little acting. I've done stand-up comedy. I try to do anything, any way I can express what's on my mind. I try to do it. But I've got I challenged some kids a couple years ago. I teach AP art, which is like college studio class, and they have to put a portfolio together. It's all changed now with all this, the new way they do it, but you used to have to make a portfolio with 12 pictures, like a concentration, they called it. And I was getting a bunch of lazy kids, and I was trying to inspire them to not be lazy. So I was like, I can do a concentration in a Christmas break. I'm going to make 12 paintings over Christmas break. And I came back and I did it, and I was like, wow, I got some pretty decent art I made, and I think it inspired some kids. Plus, I was like, well, maybe I should have an art show. And I was making the record, the Empty House record, and I sold every one of my paintings, had a show, a party, and an art show, and I sold every painting, and the paintings helped me order all the records and the CDs that I made, even though people don't buy CDs. But if you want to buy a CD, you can come find me. And no, but long story short, I started. When you teach, I guess when you're teaching art all day, the last thing you want to do is come home and make art because you've been like doing it all day. And I used to be like, well, my medicine from getting off of work was coming home and writing songs and touring around with the band and having a good old time. So, but I realized I basically my little lesson that I was trying to teach my kids inspired me to make my own art even more too. So I've been making a lot of art, and when I did, I sold out all the paintings. I've had people commission me to do paintings. I'd be like, can you paint my dog, or can you paint Jimmy Buffett, or can you paint whatever? And like I've totally like gotten into doing that too. I like making people happy. So
That's awesome.
and I like making art. So let's mix it together and try to make a living doing it. So
about what was it, about a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, you had some more problems with your heart.
oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
talk about that for a minute. What happened?
Yeah, well,
there.
Well, I was born with a hole in my heart when I was little, and I had heart surgery when I was 3. And I had a hole in my heart, and they fixed it, and they told my mom. I remember hearing when I was little that I wouldn't live through puberty and growing and all, but I got all just. I think subliminally I probably lived my life really hard and fast because I knew I was probably not going to last long. But I was totally healed up. I got to be about 40 years old. And I found out I had to have the hole in my heart repatched, and they did that in, I guess, 2013. And then I thought I was fine. Everything was great. Life was good. Everything was perfect. Just living right, and everything was awesome. And then I went for a checkup, and they said that my aortic valve was failing. And I was like, oh, man. And I just put everybody through all this stress of heart surgery and a marriage and a divorce, and everybody's just totally, taking care of me like emotionally and loving on me like way. And I was like, I didn't want to. I kept it a secret that I had to have surgery for about 2 months because I just didn't want anybody to worry about me because they'd already been worrying about me nonstop. So, I basically get a call coming home from. This to tell you how cool the world works. I get a call, or I leave Emory in Atlanta. I'm driving back to my house, and I turn on the radio, and Paul Thorne's song, Everything's Gonna Be All Right, came on the radio. And I was like, that's awesome. This is like exactly what I needed to hear right now. Everything's gonna be all right. And then I was like, I just jamming out that song. Then I found it on Spotify and just listened to it over and over again driving home. And then I get a phone call from a total stranger. He's like, hey, man, my name's Joe, and I have brain cancer, and I've been dating this girl, and I want to get married. And I was like, okay. And then someone said, you officiate weddings. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, I said, when you want to do it, let's let me know. And I was thinking in the back of my head, like, I got all this heart thing I got to deal with. And he goes, how about we do it tonight about 6:30? And I'm like, what? And I was just like, okay, I'm following this lead. I'm gonna the higher powers are pointing me into this song. I feel great right now, even though I have this horrible heart condition. And this guy he said he just got out of the hospital having a brain tumor removed. And I was like, so I met him at Town Park. They had bought like a little frozen cake from the grocery store. They were all, I think they had a logging company, so they're all wearing logging company T-shirts. And I met him, and I had taught I had taught their friend's daughter, and I'd married her and her husband, and so that's how they got my number. But we had a wedding, like impromptu wedding, and he still had like the scar and the bandage on his head.
Wow.
And I was like, crazy, this is crazy. And then so I met them, and they're like really good people. They've kind of, got really tight with them. And then one of the trees in my yard was looking really shady, and then they had a log company thing. So I was like, how about y'all come take down a tree in my yard? And they're like, all right, cool. And so we went on to playing the way, and I had a show booked at my house with some friends. It was Fester Hagen and Claire Campbell. And I knew that I had to have heart surgery, but I didn't want to tell anybody. But I played that I learned that Paul Thorne song, and I played it, and it was just like, the energy of the room, it's like, everything's all right, but I have to have heart surgery. And then everybody started freaking out. And then a couple of people at my house were like, well, when are you doing it? I was like, well, they want me to do it as soon as I can, and I'm going to wait till the end of school year, at least until all this art's due for grading. And then, so I decided on May 6th. And then, so when I told them that, they all started behind my back planning, we got to throw Ty a big party. And the party where I was playing at was at my house, and I live in this old house, and the kitchen floor was sinking down. So a couple of them were like, we got to fix Ty's floor while he's out. He can't fix his. So Fester Haygood and Todd White and an army of people that they rounded up, and they planned this whole big party.
Didn't tell you that they were doing it.
Well, they didn't tell me. And then, I don't want to say who let it out of the bag, but somebody texted me and said, are you playing your party? And I'm like, what party? And I'm like, there's a party for me? And they're like, yeah, your old band's playing and everything. And I'm like, what? When is it? And they're like Cinco de Mayo. And I'm like, well, I'm having surgery on the 6th. And they're like, well, and then I texted, they finally let the cat out of the bag. So then Fester sent me a link to who all was playing, and they were all going to cover one of my songs, and that my band was going to play. And I was like, well, if my band's playing, I'm playing. I just can't eat after 9 o'clock because I'm having open heart surgery the next morning. So I get there and we play. It's probably, I don't know, on top of like I said, I had the bad news and then the good song and then the wedding and then all that lovey-dovey stuff, and then all this secret love behind my back, and then just overwhelmed with just people being nice to me. And then we talked about winning all the Teacher of the Year awards. That all was happening at the exact same time, and it was just like unexplainable, like magic happening. And it was and then the bass player guy that I've been hanging out with, John, he was just there he was telling me all about, you should come to church, and and the students were like, this is what we call a God wink. All these things are pointing you in, this is higher power. And I'm like, I didn't really know what to think, because y'all know me, I'm a total idiot. So I don't know. It's just, everything was just going perfect. And then I went through surgery and everything went fine with that. And I came back, 18 days after surgery, I'm at graduation with my students. So it's just like, there's too many good things. And then everybody, even when I got out of surgery, I mean, it was, people were bringing me art in the hospital, and I think you came and played, and it was just like, I don't know, life was good, even though it was the worst thing that could possibly happen, and there was all this good stuff happening too. But I told people, I kind of broke down. I was like, I'm going to repay every one of these people tenfold. I'm just going to start being nicer to people. And they're like, well, we're being nice to you because you're all nice to us. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just be what I've been being, but better. And then the cool thing about that is I'm on this platform in my room to like pay that forward to my students, and hopefully they can be nice to people that they know, and then they can be nice to people that they know, and then just keep taking care of each other. People take care of their people, and I got a lot of people. It's pretty awesome.
It reminds me of that quote from Phil Walden, the founder of Capricorn Records. He said, if you do good, then good gonna come to you.
Oh yeah.
So
Amen.
that's kind of what you've experienced in your whole time. You've done a lot of good, and you did. What was fun for me was as my son Connor Griffin plays drums for the Slaw
Oh,
Dog
yeah.
Biscuits.
Old Coon Dog.
Coon Dog. And he's also the drummer for Pine Box
Oh
Dwellers.
yeah,
so
yeah. We're all related, man. It's South
I
Georgia.
tell you. So anyhow, we get this call from Ty asking me and my son and my wife to drive up to Buckhead on a weekend to be in a music video, a song that Ty wrote called the Tom Petty song. Is that the name of
I
it?
used to call it the Tom Petty song,
Yeah.
but I think due to Tom Petty's awesomeness, when I tried to like copyright it or put it on the internet, I couldn't just say Tom Petty song because it kept going, which Tom Petty song? And I'm like, no, it's my song, but it's called the Tom Petty song. And so I ended up calling it just the Tom Petty song away.
Just a Tom Petty song away. And if you can't tell it by now, many folks have told me throughout my life that I resemble Tom Petty.
You even won a Halloween costume.
I've
Ted.
won a couple
Yeah, I
of
remember
Halloween
that night in
costume
Macon was awesome.
contests. I was crowned by Unknown Henson one night.
Yeah, that was a
And
great
won
night, man.
a set of lucky dice and some glow-in-the-dark vampire teeth. And but Ty here asked me to be Tom Petty for the music video, and my wife was done her usual great hula hooping in it, and of course Connor played the drums, and we did it at Morgan County High School art room right before they demolitioned the whole thing because they built a new high school.
Yeah, they built us a new high school last year, and my old high school art room was crazy because it was an old building, and I'm a hoarder. Any good art teacher's a hoarder. Like someone's like, "You want a truckload of these?" And I'm like, "Yes." So I just had all these hoard piles everywhere, and we just had all this junk, and then. But this room was just, one time this kid goes, "Can I write on the wall? And can I sign my name as a senior?" And he wrote on the wall, "You're going to remember me later when I'm famous making 7 digits or something like that." And I thought it was funny, so I put it on the wall. And then then it was like everybody wanted to sign the wall. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. But they did it anyway. And then, I don't know, it started a trend. And everything in my wall was just totally covered with like people's signatures and little poems and stuff. And then when they were going to tear down the building, we had done a big project, like installation projects, where we knew we were going to tear the building down. So we're like, let's paint this thing crazy. So I think the year before we did it, we turned it into a cupcake factory, which is a totally different story. It'd take forever, but then we decided to paint it like Yayoi Kusama's the little infinity mirror lady that does the dots.
Uh-huh.
So we decided to paint my room black and then put little red dots everywhere because we're red and black bulldogs.
Yeah.
And then I recorded that Tom Petty song, and I was like, well, we got this great building, and it's painted up all psychedelic weird like some 1980s Tom Petty video.
Yeah.
It's like if we got Dave and Lynn and the band, we could probably make a really cool video here. And then we had to happen to have a brand new video teacher at our school, and so he got 3 cameras, and we did like one took it. I had a girl that was going to dress up like Alice in Wonderland,
Right.
but she couldn't make it, and so I was like, started freaking out. I was like, well, we can't have a Tom Petty video without Alice in Wonderlands. But then we were in my school, so I just made a phone call. I was like, hey, one of my students, or 2 of my students were like, we'll be in it. And then the chorus teacher lady from the middle school gave us some costumes. She gave us that spider, too.
Oh, yeah?
And I knew I had that sitar, and the science teacher gave me a fog machine. So it just all, like anything else in my life, it all just kind of magically came together perfectly. And then we edited it all together. It took us about a year to edit it because everybody involved was so busy.
The whole thing took only about 2 hours
Oh, yeah.
to shoot. It came together very quickly.
It's pretty cool too.
Yeah, so you can see that video.
Oh
on,
yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube. Ty Manning Music, YouTube.
Just a Tom Petty song away is the title of it. And, so how about we finish this thing up with a Newfangler song that we all co-wrote?
Yeah. Hey, can I tell a story about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember I came in when we were trying to think of we had all this we had this concept album going, and I was like, my little part of the song was of the concept album was everybody when it was really going down. The story that we had inspired it. Like everybody was talking junk, but nobody knew what was going on. People were talking kind of like what they do on the internet now. There's people just talking just to talk, but nobody really knew what happened for real. And
Small town gossip.
So I wrote a chorus. I had that chorus. Once upon a time in a small town, nobody knows. I had that chorus part, and I said, all we gotta do is this is the chorus. We just need to write some verses. And I remember that night we had 5 or 6, 10. We had a lot of people back there writing on that song. It's probably the songwriting highlight of my life. With all it was because everybody back there is like one of my heroes and friends. It's like. Well, let's do it. Let's see what we can.
All right, let's try it.
Let's go out. Anybody who knows who the Fanglers are? Newfanglers.
The Newfanglers, which you can also check out online.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Probably on Spotify.
It's on Spotify.
Y'all
CD
about to get
Baby,
fangled.
YouTube, all of the.
We need to do a Fangler show again. We get Paul Lee on bass if we can make it happen. Chunky Beaver Mudfish. Oh well, newspaper headlines read today. Old Silas Rainey's bound to hang. From the First Baptist Church to the last liquor store, everybody's talking, but no one's sure.
I was driving out by the rainy yesterday. Hollis
was bailing. Hey.
All right.
You start over?
We can start over on this. You can edit that out, can't you?
Probably not.
Probably not.
We were talking while you're starting.
Huh?
We're talking while you're starting. Just go ahead. Start over.
Okay.
This is what people want to see.
Yeah. Just see you, miss. Just start with your verse.
We're gonna
Driving out by the rainies yesterday. Old Silas Rainey was baling hay. How can he go on knowing what he's done? Hollis ain't even cold down in the grave. Once upon a time in a small town, it don't take long for everybody knows. Good or bad shit gets around. When you live around here, that's the way things go. Nobody knows. We all suppose he was the one that fired the gun. That ain't how I heard shit went down. You know how lies spread around this town. Hollis's numbered days came from Hollis's smart-ass ways. That's why he's face down in the ground. Once upon a time in a small town,
Don't take long for everybody knows. Good or bad shit gets around. When you live round here, that's the way things go. Oh, I said, nobody knows. We all suppose he was the one that fired the gun. Yes, he was. I said, nobody knows. We all suppose he was the one that fired the gun.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
That just happened, folks. How old is that song?
About
Old enough
15
to
years
It's a teenager.
or so.
What'd you say?
Old enough to drink.
He old enough to drink?
Old enough to smoke a cigarette.
Not anymore. Maybe 21.
Oh, yeah. I never smoked a cigarette anyway.
Me either.
I'm just surprised we're still all alive amid this
know.
coronavirus.
Yeah.
The
That's
world of
We may be homeless by the end of it, losing all these gigs.
Happy St. Patrick's
are
Day.
we 6 feet away from each other?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to connect
This is social distancing.
at its finest.
This place looks a lot smaller on TV.
Yeah.
Wink.
I was out at the grocery store picking up some staples amid this coronavirus, and I thought, well, the dogs have got to eat too, so I got me a big old bag of dry dog food and was waiting in line. This lady in front of me in line turned around and says, "You got a dog?" I'm thinking,
No, just like dry dog food.
this is going to be,
It's
I'm
gonna
going to
get
have some
real-
fun.
Yeah.
So I said, well, actually, I'm going back on my dog food diet. I tried it a few years ago, and I mean, I almost died. They put me in the hospital. But when you think about it, it's ideal. I mean, you can just get you a scoop full and put it in your pocket, and just as you're walking around, you get hungry, you just
They
take
come
out a
long way
couple
with dog food,
couple of kibbles and bits and nibble on them, you know. And she said, "Well, did it poison you? You was in the hospital. What happened?" I said, "Oh, no. I just been over to sniff a bulldog's ass and got hit by a truck."
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Hey, before we end this thing, I got to say something for Paul Lee. Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right. Last night I talked to Paul Lee, and he tours around the world law. And with my heart, he didn't want to come over here just in case. He didn't want to infect me with whatever he thinks he might have or possibly could have. But we were talking on the phone last night, and we were thinking about what we were going to talk about. And I think I told you earlier, but me and Paul Lee, Rachel and him wanted to hear me tell a story about a biker party we played when we were at school in Alabama.
Have it. Have at it.
Alabama biker party, woo! All right. No, but we got hired to play this biker party. When me and Paul went to college in Alabama, we were both in the marching band out there, and we started this band. Probably the most talented band I've ever been in, because everybody in the band was in marching band.
Right.
It was like 3 or 4 Paul Lees in one band, and we had a guy that played trumpet. Like we were like Southern rock band, and he's playing trumpet. But we were playing it. We got hired to play this biker rally, Southern Breeze Motorcycle Club, and they were in that movie Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth, the football player guy.
All right.
They were the extras in that movie, but they had this big party, and we get out there. It's Labor Day party. We played for 3 days. It was a 3-day party, and we show up. Place is just surrounded with bikers, and they got an armed guard, and we were scared that we were going to get shot or die. But we played. It's probably the funnest thing we ever did. And there was this one lady, and she kept informing us. She's way wasted drunk, but she kept informing us that she used to date the drummer for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Okay.
Which is one of the things you can't make up. We're at a biker party in Alabama. ex-girlfriend or groupie of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
That'd be Jimmy Fadden or Jimmy McFadden, I think was the guy's
Wow,
name.
yeah, like,
Nitty Gritty Dirt Band drummer.
music knowledge is amazing. No, but I don't know why I remember this lady's name, but Paul was. I said it to Paul last night, but she was obsessed with our drummer, who was like he looked like he's the youngest guy in the band.
She had a thing for drummers.
She had a thing for drummers, I guess, but she's sitting right by his hi-hat like the whole time. She's wasted drunk, but she kept going, bounce them hi-hats, boy, bounce them hi-hats. You ain't doing it right. I know drummers. And so finally he kept saying, by God, let it come on, get off me. And I finally asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Chunky Beaver. But we could call her Mudfish. Thank you. That's all I'm gonna say. But Chunky Beaver Mudfish.
Wow.
No, but later that night she won. She won a contest that I won't talk about. But
Was it the nickname lottery?
no, but they did have a party. They had a wedding when we got done. They came. We were in the middle of a song. And they came over there and said, "Hey, we want the band to come with us. We're having a wedding." And we're like, "What?" And they took us to the back of this field, like way far away from where we were, and they woke these two people up out of a tent, and they married them. They had made rings and everything. But apparently earlier in the night they had passed out before they were supposed to get married, and so they went and woke them up in the middle of the debauchery. But I should probably stop talking right there.
Oh, well.
Love you, Paul. Rachel.
Well, this
Dory.
This episode of Something in the Water goes out to the Chunky Beaver Mudfish.
Bounce them hi-hats.
Wherever you are now.
Bounce some hi-hats.
There's a song we need to write tonight.
Well, I reckon it's time for another tale of the week.
Y'all get art too. I didn't tell y'all that on the way
Yeah,
in. But
you did too.
both of y'all got one. I know y'all are Graham Parson people, so I brought you some Graham Parsons art. Y'all can arm wrestle. Y'all should arm wrestle right now.
All right.
Or just draw a card.
I'm arm wrestling right now in my mind.
Actually, we should probably have social distancing.
I just won.
Read us a story, Dave.
All right. Tale of the week this week comes from Not in the Book.
Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun.
Y'all have to, I buy glasses to match my shirts nowadays.
I thought you had lens glasses.
No, man.
Blinging.
All right. There's a growing trend, at least in my neck of the woods, in musicians turned wedding officiators, spurred on by nothing more than the simple wishes of friends, fans, or family of certain artists. Their wish is for that special artist to perform the ceremonial nuptials on their special day. I started hearing about this phenomenon about 8 years ago when my singer-songwriter buddy and pine box dweller feller Sean Clark was hand-picked to officiate Brandon Doty and Lindsay Cox's wedding at the Atlanta Botanical Garden on June 17th, 2010.
There you go.
On June 9th, 2012, Tyrus J. Manning III, former Barefoot hooker and current Slaw Dog Biscuit, joined the ranks of the Reverends, performing his first ceremony for Christy Hanchy's wedding in Hanchyville, just outside Hoboken, Georgia. Complete with a Jim Beam toast, and in lieu of rice or birdseed, the newlyweds were showered with pork rinds. My wife had been after me for a while to have a vow renewal ceremony. Time or place was not so important. She just wanted it to happen. So I finally agreed that we'd do it in between acts at the 3rd annual Swamptown Getdown Music and Arts Festival, one of 2 outdoor music festivals I host in my hometown of Waycross, Georgia. We chose our dear musician friend and wedding officiant, Ty Manning, to do the honors. It was a beautiful and heartfelt occasion, and when it was over, Ty pulled me to the side and asked if I would return the favor at his wedding, planned to be held later that year at the Georgia Theater in Athens. I told him I would love to, but there was one problem. I didn't have the credentials. No problem at all, said the veteran musician minister. You just go to universallifechurch.com on your computer, pay them $58.63, and you're in. It was as simple as that. I didn't treat it lightly at all, though, being raised in a Christian family and spending nearly every Sunday and Wednesday at Calvary Baptist Church, while I was growing up, I knew that I was duty-bound to be as serious as a waterlogged preacher in a baptismal pool if I was going to go through with it. The day of the wedding came, so Lynn and I motored up Highway 441, allowing enough time to get us there with no worries. We were cruising along in our son Connor's little black Honda Accord when somewhere just the other side of Milledgeville, a big log truck pulled lazily into our path, forcing me to peel dangerously over to the shoulder of the road. Without losing speed, I eased past the unconcerned log driver to my left, hanging halfway out my window, horn blaring with my middle finger hung defiantly in his direction. From that moment on, my wife dubbed me the irreverent Reverend, and I've been praying for forgiveness ever since. I've married several couples since that first one. Sean and Bess Clark in my living room, Sherry and Chris Davidson holding an umbrella in the Mershon rain, Kelsey and Caleb Barnard in the hospital room, Charlie and Jordan Bell under a gazebo on a lovely Waresboro pond, Caitlin and Dwayne Hamlin, two warm hearts outside in the cold, and Audrey and Brandon Jones. All the weddings are memorable, but the Jones wedding was most memorable. It was held on a beautiful April afternoon outside the historic Jekyll Island Club Resort Hotel and overlooking the waters of Fancy Bluff Creek, with many friends, loved ones, and sand gnats in attendance. Surrounded by such loveliness and perfection, just before the vows were recited, I was reading a special passage that I had written comparing the marriage couple to the great loves in country music history. I says, it happened for June and Johnny, Graham and Emmylou, Uncle Dave and Aunt Lynn, and lifting my eyes from the script, I said, and it happened for Brandon and Ashley. I sensed something was wrong when I saw the bride-to-be, Audrey, looking nervously at me, waiting on a punchline or some explanation for my errant name-calling. Even wedding ministers are human, especially this one. Audrey was so very gracious, lightening the mood with a quick smile and saying, whoever Ashley is, she's too late. We carried on. Brandon and Audrey Jones are still happily married, and the young couple have a son. Well, that blows my last line, okay? If it hadn't happened to be a girl, I suspect that Ashley was definitely not on the list of considered names. Folks.
Hey, their kid was at the Swamptown thing, and he was
Lewin.
loving it, man, loving it, jumping up and down.
He's a great kid.
Y'all are weddings. I got I did the second wedding I did. They go, yeah, we're gonna. It's one of my old students or former students who's actually a teacher now. She's awesome. But they asked me to come do the wedding, and they're like, it's just gonna be a little wedding in the backyard. And I get there, and it's like this huge tent, and there's like all these bridesmaids and everything. And they had a wedding planner lady and a bunch of preachers in the family, and it was just really awkward because I went from doing like, commando style overalls throwing pork rinds, and then I went through to like a real like country wedding in the backyard with, with some church involved, And so I remember they said, oh yeah, we want you to do this, and you're gonna do the vows, and they had a Harlem Shake. That's how long ago it was, but they go, sometime before we eat, we want you to say a prayer and bless the food, and I'm like, okay, and I was like, I can do that. And then I remember going to the thing I called John Tonge because he's like my connection to church then, Like, John, I'm at this wedding. They think I'm a real reverend. Like, what do I do? And he goes, well, just bless the food. Say, dear God, bless the food for we're about to eat. And then he said, add something Thai-ish in there and it'll be cool. So I went in there and I said, let's all bow our heads. We're going to like, God, please bless this food for the nourishment of our body. And, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to celebrate this day with, Caitlin and her husband. And let's keep this party going. Amen. And I thought, I just said keep this party going in a prayer. And then I was like, I went over, I was fixing my plate of food because they let you go first when you're a reverend. And this, like, I guess he's like 70-year-old preacher guy walks up in his suspenders and pants way up high. And he's like, I'm going to have to steal that prayer. Like, let's keep this party going. Bam.
Oh, Lord.
But I don't know. I just thought you were talking about weddings. I figured I'd add a little amen at the end.
Well, amen to that, everybody.
Y'all keep this party going. This is fun.
We thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah, thank
Ty
y'all. Love y'all.
Manning, and hope you'll join us again for our next podcast. And
Like, share,
subscribe,
Rate and review.
rate and review.
Yeah, share this video. If you've watched the whole thing, you're awesome. Give yourself a hug.
See you soon.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.